Councillor Scott Ainsley, who has been pivotal in helping to shift and prepare the groundwork for the campaign into bringing and making our reparation and reparatory justice tangible. Can we get a round of applause for the councillor, please?
Hello, folks. Last year, as the Green Party MEP for London, I went on this march and I got speaking to a guy and we walked all the way from here to Parliament Square. I had absolutely no idea that I was talking to Kofi Klue. I said, I'm a Green Party councillor in Lambeth and I was also the MEP, but I said, the Green Party have looked to pass a motion on atonement and reparatory justice before. And he read it and he said, this is quite good. But what it does is it leads to a state stitch-up, that people at the top of the tree will just make a bargain, and then those that are affected, communities across the globe that are affected do not get their voices heard, do not get a say. So I've been on a journey for the last year, and I'm proud to say that as a Lambeth councillor, I worked with the ruling Labour Party. There's 5 Greens on Lambeth Council, were the main opposition, and I persuaded them to pass a motion to call for a commission of inquiry, an all-party commission of inquiry, to atone and go through a reparatory justice process here in the UK for the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved Africans, which leaves its legacy today. People, I want to just, everyone's made really articulate speeches today, but I want to pull together why now and why the time is right. And I beg your indulgence because this is written by the international network of intellectuals that are looking for a way on how this can work. And what we need to do is try and break that down so that people can really understand it. So we've already heard that much of the global inequality that we see today has its roots in the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved Africans. Britain's wealth is built on the backs of millions of Africans. It enslaved for over 270 years through a system that drove the country's industrialization, modernization, and laying the bedrock for the development of extractivist capitalist economy that still endures today. And a key part of the continuation was the passing of the 1837 Slave Compensation Act. So that compensated the enslavers. Those who were enslaved received nothing. People in this crowd might want to bring this up with their elected representatives to say, you mean I have been paying my tax to pay off a debt that enslaved my ancestors, that enslaved my fellow human beings across the world? Not on my watch do you have this right. Now, people are appalled about this, and this is why you've got Green King and Lloyd's and all these different organizations saying to themselves, how do we adjust? How do we atone for this? What do we do? Well, we are in the process of showing them how they can do that. The first step is passing the motion at Lambeth Council, because if national government will not show the kind of leadership it needs to show, then it is down to local government, it is down to devolved governments. So the motion that is passed at Lambeth Council, home to the largest African Caribbean population in the UK, then let us spread it out across the rest of England, let us spread it out across Scotland, let us spread it in Northern Ireland and Wales and everywhere across this nation until this government no longer can ignore the voices of the people. Because we deplore a situation where the beneficiaries of genocide and ecocide of the African people and their environments, as we've just heard, including many institutions and families in the UK, they continue to benefit, while the descendants of the victims continue to suffer racism, discrimination, and inequality. And one of the most visible and enduring legacies of African enslavement colonization and neo-colonization is systematic racism that exists in Western societies, which the Pan-Afrikan Liberation Movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the International Decade for People of African Descent Coalition UK, and other black communities are campaigning to eliminate. This systematic racism that is ingrained in our society manifests itself, as we've been hearing, in education, in housing, in health, employment, and the criminal justice system, as we've also heard. Now, that legacy manifests itself both in overt acts of violent racism, such as the death of George Floyd at the hands of American police, but it includes black deaths in police, prison, and psychiatric custody, and immigration detention in the UK, or in the institutional failings to provide sufficient support and care for black communities, such as the disproportionate impact COVID has had on the people here in the UK. There are 3 global pandemics right now: COVID-19, racism, and the climate crisis. Now, the Green Party in Lambeth have acted now by supporting this call, but we need everyone else across the country, as I've said, to show this leadership. But you know what? The UN, we are 6 years into the UN declaring this an international decade of people of African descent. The UK government still has not officially recognized this, but in this decade, from 2015 to 2024, let's make sure that the next 4 years they hear our voices, that we get organized, and that we can properly address the legacies of colonial and the enslaving past, which shamefully have included genocide, ecocide, and the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved African. Then we can truly deal with the root causes of our country's socio-economic inequality, embedded in systemic racism, while linking this to the need for planetary repairs. And I'll finish by saying this: social justice and environmental justice, they're not separate issues. They go hand in hand. And by engaging in a genuine process, past and present injustices inflicted by the few, which have caused endless suffering to the many, must end. I hope that you will all get organized, that you will contact your local councillors, your local representatives, and you will say, if they can do that in Lambeth, they can do that across the country. And then, as a nation, we atone and we start the process of reparatory justice. Thank you.